Krishna. Enjoy. So. There we go. So this is a song that's sung whenever the disappearance days of our great acharyas. So I'll do my best. But here's a translation so you understand what we're singing. Okay? This is by Narottam Das Thakur. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivasacharya gone? He wrote this just after his Srinivasacharya and Ramachandra, his godbrother, very advanced god. They both disappeared pretty close to each other. So he was completely devastated at this time, feeling their separation. So this is when he compiled this song. Where are my Suk Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. Okay. Jaya Nilo Premadana Karuna Prachur Nilo Premadana Karuna Prachur Jaya Nilo Premadana Karuna Prachur Nilo Premadana Karuna Prachur Nino Prabhu Kotha Gela Acharya Thakur Nino Prabhu Kotha Gela Acharya Thakur Mora Swarup Rupa Mahashanata Swarup Rupa Mahashanata Mora Swarup Rupa Kasanota Marasarupa Kasanota Gadasa Raghunatha Patita Pavan Kamara Bhatta Yuga Kakavira. Eka kale kota gela gora natara. Bhajane kutibo mata anale pashibo. Bhajane kutibo mata anale pashibo. Gauranga gunira nidhi kota gilo pavo. Se saba sangira sangi nikoilo vila. Se sangana paya kande naru samoda. Jaya nilo premadana karuna prachu. Eno Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur. Okay. So we'll read about Gopala Bhatta Das Goswami, and if we have some time, then we can read from the Bhagavatam also. Okay. And after the reading, we'll open it up because there may be additional pastimes devotees want to bring up about Gopala Bhatta Goswami. So this description begins with Lord Chaitanya in his travels in South India. Get a little water here. And his coming to Sri Rangakshetra. Who's been to Sri Rangakshetra? Been there? South India, Sri Rangakshetra? Been there? I went there once, and they wouldn't let me in. And then the devotee who was with me said, this is very strange, because just last week we brought in some devotees from Sweden, because, color your skin. So at that time, they were building the temple there, a small temple. This is a very small place. I stayed on the kitchen floor. That's where I slept because there was no room. But it so happened that the police chief in that area became a devotee. He was a pujari. So he said, I'll take you. So he brings me the next day, and they walk in the office, and Harold is yelling. And pujaris come out and take him and I right up front. No problem. It's a beautiful deity of Vishnu reclining, very, very long. But he has a face, it's a Narayan, but he has a face of Krishna, very sweet, puffy cheeks, like that, really sweet looking. And they take this big, maybe you've seen these big camphor lamps. They start at the feet. They illuminate the whole body right up to the face. Back down again. But it's who you know. I happened to, ex-police chief happened to be a pujari at the temple, so I got in. But anyway, so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the all-merciful Lord Sri Gaur Hari, as he traveled from village to village throughout the south of India, continued to distribute love of Godhead wherever he went. Hearing the nectarine names of Hari from his lotus mouth, thousands and thousands of men and women felt relief from the blazing fire of material existence. Various wretched, miserable, and fallen souls, their lives were completely rejuvenated, and thus they became virtuous and happy. While causing rains of love of God had to fall anywhere and everywhere without consideration of time or place, Sri Gaurasundar came to the ancient holy place of Sri Rangakshetra on an island in the middle of the Kaveri River. The temple of Sri Rangakshetra was extremely large, still is. It's the largest temple in India. The crest of the temple tower pierced the sky. Throughout the day and night, hundreds and thousands of pilgrims were coming and going to take darshan of Lord Ranganath. The temple hall resounded with the sounds of hundreds and thousands of Brahmins chanting Vedic hymns. In the midst of this scene, from Vaikuntha, entered Sri Gaurasundar chanting the names of Krishna in his sweet voice that defeated the voices of 10 million Gandharvas. That's sweet. Okay. Everyone in the temple became dumbstruck, amazed and thrilled with wonder. What unprecedented beauty! His bodily effulgence makes molten gold appear lackluster. From his eyes, which are like the full-blown petals of a lotus flower, trickled down tears of ecstatic love. Every limb, every part of his body was filled with such exquisite grace that even the mind of Cupid gets stolen away. The Brahmanas began to consider, is this a demigod? Can such symptoms and emotions be found in human beings? Again, resounding the halls with the transcendental vibrations of Sri Hari's name, when he came before the deity and fell down as a tree is blown down by the wind, some people thought that a mountain of gold was rolling on the ground. I don't know if you had the same thing up there or something. Okay. You know what this reminds me of? I just think, you were talking about Peter Burwash yesterday together. This is devotee Peter Burwash. In one of his books, he says one of the most anxiety-filled jobs, you know what it is? It's being a goalie in hockey. You know why? You know why? Because every time you make a mistake, a red light goes off above your head. So can you imagine that? Every time we made a mistake, a red light goes off. Your chant japa, every time your mind goes away from the mantra, a red light, every time you think of something besides Krishna, imagine we all had little red lights on our head, and every time we did something wrong, beep, 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 beep. So he said it's a lot of anxiety being a goalie because you do something wrong and this red light goes off and everyone sees it. So every time everyone's like looking up there and I'm like, did I do something wrong? What's going on here? I'm sorry, that's what I thought of. Okay, so he's rolling on the ground. Sri Venkat Bhatta, now we're getting to Gopal Bhatta's family. This is his father. Sri Venkat Bhatta, seeing this divine personage, became restless with ecstasy. His heart being flooded with devotion, he got up and began to move the crowds away so that the Lord could engage in chanting and dancing. When the Lord had regained his external consciousness after engaging in Sankirtan, Venkat Bhatta approached him and took the dust of his lotus feet. Mahaprabhu gazed toward him and saying, Krishna, Krishna, embraced him firmly. Sri Venkata Bhatta invited Mahaprabhu to come to his house, and having brought him there, very reverently washed his lotus feet, and along with the other family members, he drank the water. Material existence is over. Okay. Sri Bhattaji's house became filled with joy. Because actually, I guess it will come in here. He actually asked him to stay for 4 months. So 4 months of Chaturmas. So he stayed with the family. Mahaprabhu came to Rangakshetra in the Christian year 1511. Then Venkata Bhatta had 2 brothers, Tirumala Bhatta and Prabhananda Saraswati. very famous Vaishnava in our line. They all belonged to the Ramanuja Sampradaya, and Prabhupada Saraswati was a Tridandi sannyasi in that order. Venkata Bhatta had a son named Gopal, who was then just a child. When the boy came to offer his obeisances at the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu, at the lotus feet of the Lord, Mahaprabhu picked him up and very affectionately seated him on his lap. Mahaprabhu would call Gopal after he had finished his meal and offer him remnants to the boy. In this way, he prepared him for the position of becoming an acharya. So if you want to become an acharya, you got to eat off of Krishna's plate, Mahaprasadam. So it's one of the ways you become an acharya. Such mercy. After remaining at Venkata Bhatta's house during the 4 months of the rainy season, Chatumasya, Mahaprabhu prepared to continue his journey of the south. Venkata Bhatta's house began to ebb in the tide of tears of anticipation of his departure. Gopal fell at his lotus feet in a dead faint. Little boy, but he fainted at the feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Mahaprabhu remained for a couple more days in order to console the boy. Being pleased with Gopal Bhatta Goswami's sincere service and devotion, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu initiated him and ordered him to move to Vrindavan after the disappearance of his parents and perform bhajan and rite. He instructed him to serve his mother and father and always engage in... So if you have kids, anyone have kids? Quote this right there. Lord Chaitanya said, serve your mother and father. They put that verse up in the kitchen somewhere, if you like, or in their room. There it is. Okay, there it is. Serve his mother and father and always engage in chanting Krishna's glories and thereafter come to Vrindavan. Very quickly, Gopal became expert in grammar, poetry, rhetoric, and then he began his study of Vedanta. His uncle, Prabhupada, specifically began to instruct him from the devotional scriptures, Bhakti Shastra. Gopal Bhatta always remained thinking of the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu when he might again be able to meet him. At the same time, however, he couldn't leave his aged mother and father. Finally, having reached their final days, they called their son Gopal and instructed him to go to the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu in Vrindavan. Then, while meditating on his lotus feet, they themselves went to join him in his eternal Leela. So they're very, very fortunate. At the age of 30, Gopal Bhatta came to Vrindavan, and having missed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this saddened him. Thus Gopal set out for Vrindavan. There's the type here. So he came to Vrindavan, missed him, and he set out for Vrindavan. Maybe it said, maybe he went to Jagannath Puri. I think there's a typo here. He went to Puri, and then he missed him, and then he went to Vrindavan. Thus Gopal set out for Vrindavan, and when he arrived there, Rupa Goswami immediately sent a word to Mahaprabhu to inform him of Gopal's arrival there. Mahaprabhu had previously indicated to Rupa and Sanatan that Gopal Bhatta would one day come there to Vrindavan. So upon his arrival, they treated him with the same care and affection they would their own brother. They immediately became lifelong companions. However, the all-knowing Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, received word that Gopal Bhatta had come to Vrindavan, and he was very pleased and sent with a messenger his Lord's personal wooden sitting plank. It says hokey here, but I think it means chokey, right? Probably a C missing. A chokey is a little, so you don't call them hokies, do you? This must be a typo. Hokey, Hindi, hokey. So it's chokey, little what Chaitanya would sit on. He sent him that as a gift, which he had used along with a pair of his undergarments and one of his upper cloths, uttara or chadar. Having received these gifts, Gopal Bhatta was in ecstasy, and he worshipped them as the prasad, tadiya of Mahaprabhu. When he would worship his deities, he would sit on that wooden plank. This piri, wooden seat, and Mahaprabhu's clothes are still being worshipped at the Radharaman temple. Has anyone seen them there? Been to Radharaman temple in Vrindavan? Okay. Gopal Bhatta, like Rupa and Sanatan, had no fixed residence and would spend the night in various kunjas, forest groves. He spent his time studying the scriptures and composing various literatures. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's disappearance, Gopal Bhatta Goswami felt intense separation from the Lord. To relieve his devotee, the Lord instructed Gopal Bhatta in a dream. If If you want my darshan, then make a trip to Nepal. If you had a dream like that, would you go to Nepal? So tell the temple president, sorry, Prabhu, I had a dream last night. I got to go to Nepal. And what would you say? I had a dream. He told you to stay. It's interesting, but I had a dream too. He told you to stay. Don't go to Nepal. So, but that's what happened. In Nepal, Gopala Bhatta bathed in the famous Kali Gandaki River. Upon dipping his water pot in the river. Now, is that how all the shalagrams came here? You went there and they just all jumped in the bucket for you, or pretty much? Okay. You collected all the shalagrams? Okay. Okay. So, upon dipping his water pot in the river, he was surprised to see several shalagram shilas enter his pot. He dropped the shilas back into the river, but the shilas re-entered his pot, and when he refilled it, after emptying and refilling his pot for the third time, Gopala Bhatta Goswami found 12 shalagram shilas sitting there. Thinking this must be the Lord's mercy, he kept all the shilas and returned to Vrindavan. Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami used to worship 12 shalagram shilas. Wherever he would go, he would bring them with him in a piece of cloth tied at the corner. One day, a wealthy man, Seth, that's what they call him, Seth, came to Vrindavan and offered Gopala Bhatta a variety of clothing and ornaments for his shalagrams. Being very impressed with the Goswami, he wanted his darshan and to render some service which he presented in the form of some valuable clothes and ornaments. However, Gopala Bhatta couldn't use these for his round-shaped shalagrams, so he advised the donor to give the deity decorations to someone else. But the Seth insisted. Gopala Bhatta kept the clothes and ornaments with his shilas. While Gopala Bhatta Goswami was absorbed in remembering how the half-man, half-lion form of the Supreme Lord had manifested from the pillar in Hiranyakashipu's palace, he prayed in transcendental lamentation to the Lord, "O my Lord, you are very merciful and always fulfill the desires of your devotees. I wish to serve you in your form, having arms and legs and blissful smiling face with lotus eyes. If I had a deity, then I would be able to decorate him so nicely with all of these clothes and ornaments." In the evening, after offering some bhoga and artik to his shalagram shilas, Gopala Bhatta put them to rest, covering them with a wicker basket. Late in the night, Gopal took a little rest, and then in the early morning went to take bath in the river Jamuna. Returning from his bath, he uncovered the shalagrams in order to render the puja for them, and saw amongst them a deity of Krishna playing the flute. There were now 11 shilas and this deity. The Damodar Shila had manifested as the beautiful threefold bending form of Tribhangananda Krishna. Floating in the ocean of ecstasy, he fell to the ground to offer his dandavats and then recited various prayers and hymns. This wonderful event of the appearance day of Radharaman happened on the day after Sri Nrsimha Chaturdasi and is celebrated on that day accordingly. That day they offered 500 liters of milk for the Lord's pleasure and many other sweets and different things. The Radharaman temple has the highest standard of deity worship in all of Raj. This devotee recently was telling me that they were speaking one of the pujaris there. And you go on the altar, and even on the altar, there's a section which is considered pure and a section which is considered not pure. You have to be careful where you step. And there's this whole thing about if somehow or other you contaminate your hands, there's a pot of water there, and with their elbow, it takes them a few months they teach how the pujaris how to do this, to touch it with your elbow and wash your hands, because you can't touch it with your hands because your hands aren't clean. It's like very, very strict. And you know, I have a tape, a few tapes by Vishwambar Goswami from many years ago. It's a friend of mine, Ramananda Roy. He was interviewing him. He was telling the story about the pujaris, that the little kids in the family grow up, and then they're given, you know, diksha and a Brahmin thread and so on. But even out of those, they watch to see who's really going to be qualified. And then they start studying and so on. And then after some time, they start training him in the deity worship, and they practice for 9 years on another deity the same size as 9 years. How long is the training here? A few days. 9 days. It's like, get in there, work it out. So 9 years. So they're very, very, very high standard. And that's what Prabhupada said. If we had any questions about deity worship, ask Vishnu Goswami. Amazing personality, very, very high standard. But here's a little story about that. When Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, as well as many other devotees, received news of this miraculous event, they came running to see the Lord. Gazing on the Lord's transcendental form, which bewildered all the living entities of the many various planets, they all bathed him with their tears. This deity, whom the Goswamis named Sri Radharaman Deva, made his appearance on the full moon day of Vaishakha in the year 1542. Except for Vrindadevi, Sri Radharamanji is the only one of the original deities of Vrindavan who never left to go to Jaipur. Because they moved so many deities out when the Mughals were coming to destroy everything. Sri Radharamanji is still being worshipped in Vrindavan near Nindubhan Kunj in the compound of the temple. The deity is called Radharaman, although physically there is no apparent deity of Radha. As one can see from pictures, that to the right of the picture, to the right of Radharamanji is a setting for Srimati Radhika. That someday she's there. In this way, the pujaris worship Sri Radha and Ramanji together. Sri Radha Raman Dev, unlike other deities, has very intricate features, including fingernails and even teeth. You just look closely at his teeth, like that. On his backside of his body parts, on his back, parts of the original shalagram from which he manifested can be seen. There was a story that the small son of one of the Saivites was playing with the deity. And once he put a small stick in one ear of the deity and pushed it throughout the other ear. The stick, however, had blood on it, and that boy died vomiting blood that very day. I've never heard that story before. Hare Krishna. I added that up. If you ever have, here's an interesting festival here. If you ever have the good fortune to attend the Snanayatra festival in Sri Vrindavan Dham, then it is a must that you visit Radharaman temple on that day. The temperatures are hot and dry in the 40+ centigrade, and much anticipation of seeking out cooling water pervades the thoughts in Vrindavan's hot summer. At the temple, the merciful Ramanji has made a provision so that first he takes his transcendental bath right in front of the altar for all to see. But then after he has taken his bath, in his expanded kindness, the pujaris turn on the sprinkler system that surrounds the courtyard. The fan in the middle is even equipped with pipes to pour out cooling water as it rotates at a high speed, inundating all the devotees taking darshan of the Lord with great pleasure. And that's a wonderful way to distribute Charanamrita bathing. How hot does it get here? Not that hot. Okay. So, but we'll call the devotees in Phoenix and Tucson and see if they'd like to start doing that. Okay. Well, I'll read this, but it's interesting. It's because I'll tell you another story that Vishnu Goswami mentioned. It says that the present pujaris tell this story that some scientists had come to examine the deity, and because they had doubts that he was self-manifested. And it says they examined the deity under the supervision of the devotees, but could find no evidence of carving. So, as far as they're concerned. The reason I brought this up was interesting because Vishnu Goswami tells a story. You know, he was once the mayor of Vrindavan. He was the mayor, and confirmed. And but there was a time when some big minister, I think in South India, under Indira Gandhi, so it was not too long ago, I mean, in the sense of a few decades ago, wanted to go around and weigh and measure all the deities in the temples of Vrindavan and maybe other places too, because they're on the historical register and so on. And Bishop Goswami said, no, you can't do that. And he put up a fight, a big fight, refused to let them come into the temples of Vrindavan, and it turned to a whole big thing. And he was actually jailed, put into jail and so on, and let him out. And he actually went to see Indira Gandhi personally. And that man was fired. Because how can you measure the deities? They're Krishna. You can't measure Krishna, his size and his weight and so on. So they boycotted. They wouldn't let them in the temples in Vrindavan. And there was actually in that whole area, and maybe in parts of South India and so on. And he was leading that objection and demonstration and stopping these people from going to temples, because you can't do that to Krishna. You can't, So, anyways, that's the story he tells. Okay. Now, Vishnu Goswami, the Goswamis of Vrindavan, who are running the temples now. Where do they come from? Because the Goswamis didn't get married. So who are they descendants of? So this is an interesting story here about the descendants who are running the temple of Radharaman. It says, once Sri Gopal Bhatta went to Haridwar. As he was returning, suddenly a downpour started, and thus he took shelter in the house of one Brahmin. This Brahmin was very devoted, and he very carefully began to serve Sri Gopal Bhatta, who thus became very pleased. As this Brahmin had no children, Shripad Gopal Bhatta Goswami blessed him that he might have a son who would be devoted to Lord Hari. The Brahmin replied, out of gratitude, that my first son I will send to you in order to serve you. Approximately 10 years later, when Gopal Bhatta returned from bathing in the Jamuna one day, he saw a young boy sitting at the door of his kutir. When the boy saw Goswamiji approaching, he got up and then fell down to offer his dandavats. Shripad Gopal Bhatta Goswami inquired who the boy was, to which he replied, my home was in Devadyagram within Saharanapur, near Haridwar. My father has sent me here to serve you. 10 years old. Hare Krishna. My name is Gopinath. Then Gopal Bhatta could remember the time when he went to Haridwar many years ago. So this boy remained with him and very carefully began to serve him. Eventually, he became known as Sri Gopinath Pujari Goswami, as he served Sri Radharaman Dev throughout his life as an unmarried brahmachari. His younger brother, Sri Damodar Das, also, along with his family, accepted initiation from Sri Gopinathji and also became engaged in the service of the deity. Sri Damodar Das's three sons were named Harinath, Mathuranath, and Harinam. It is from these family members of Gopinath's brother that today's guardians of Radharaman Gosai so nicely maintain and serve Sri Radharamanji. So they're not actually descendants of Gopal Bhatta, but that's the lineage. Sri Gopal Bhatta's devotion was so special, his devotion was so profound that the Lord appeared for him in this special form of Radharaman. But not only that, as if in confirmation of the pastimes of the Lord and Mahaprabhu's being directly Radha Krishna, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha, Krishna Nahi Anya, in his worship of Sri Radharaman, would sometimes see that he had taken the form of Sri Gaura Sundar. Gopal Bhatta was feeling separation from Lord Chaitanya, so sometimes he's performing the worship of Radharaman, and Radharaman would turn into Lord Chaitanya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, becoming subservient to the love of Gopal Bhatta, Sri Radharman would sometimes accept the form of Sri Gaura Sundar. So it's another miracle or amazing pastime. Sri Gopala Bhatta was the initiating guru of Srinivasacharya. Sripad Gopal Bhatta Goswami was very learned, trained in Pancharatra, coming in the learned family of Venkat Bhatta. Now, this Venkat Bhatta we read earlier, they were the head pujaris there. It was the biggest, most famous developed temple in India, and that family, for many, many generations, actually even recently, devotees are saying you go and visit the descendants of Venkat Bhatta, they're still there, and they're still pujaris at the temple. So it's and previous to him, his father, so I think he was the head pujari, one of the head pujaris of that temple. Very learned, very wonderful devotee. So that's the lineage. So coming in the learned family of Venkat Bhatta in the Sri Vaishnav line, he wrote many books, including Sat Sandarbha Karika, Sri Krishna Vallabha, Krishna Karnamritika, Shadkriya Sharadipika, a brilliant work on Vaishnav Samskara Vidhi, and Lagu, Hari Bhakti Vilas, and Digdarshini Tika. From this work, Sri Sanatan Goswami compiled the Hari Bhakti Vilas, now followed by all Gaudiya Vaishnavas. It is said, out of affection for Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Srila Sanatan Goswami compiled the famous Vaishnav Smriti titled Hari Bhakti Vilas and published it under Gopal Bhatta Goswami's name. Gopal Bhatta Goswami resided for 45 years in Sri Vrindavan Dham, but out of great humility, he requested Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj not to mention his name in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So you won't find very little references to Gopal Bhatta. Gopal Bhatta Goswami serves as Guna Manjari. In the Gaura Ganodesha Deepika 2, it is mentioned that in the eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna, Gopal Bhatta Goswami's name is in Brajalila, has been given as Guna Manjari. His birth was on the day of the dark fortnight of the month of Paush in the year 1503, Christian era. His disappearance day today is on the 6th day of the dark fortnight of the month of Shravan in the year 1578. He was 75 years old when he passed from this world and returned to the eternal Leela of the Lord. Okay. Now, are there any other pastimes to be brought up of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, or maybe even questions? Do you want the microphone? Is that what you do here, or do you just talk?
I believe the initiation fire fire which is still used there in the temple for cooking for the nations.
Yeah, it's still burning in the kitchen. They haven't let it go out.
Would it be much time you do let that fire, or was it initiation fire?
Well, I think it's referring to he was initiated as a little boy. That's what it said. And the initiation, in the sense of gave him the mantra and gave him his blessings and grace. Because it said he got initiated when he was a little boy. Initiated, but he said, don't go to Vrindavan yet. Stay here. Take care of your mom and dad. They're wonderful devotees. And when they pass away, you can go. So, but yes, the fire is burning in that kitchen. They've kept it going for 4 or 5 since the beginning of the temple. So they just kept it going.
I shower head over another man and the water was coming directly off the
Oh,
floor.
So that was they're cooling him off.
I was just wondering, when the 12 challenges went into the Bhatta Goswami's water park, the one that turned into Radha Man and Shiva must have been pretty, unless he went bigger when he did into Radha Man, or whether Radha Man is the same weight and size of what the Shiva was before he did.
That is an interesting question. Now, I do not know, but the thing is, he's traveling. I mean, Radharman is like this. You figure he was traveling as a mendicant all the way to Nepal, and he had a little kamandalu. So I don't know if he was carrying a big Sheila that big. So, but however the Lord decided to manifest, he just, he's there. He's manifested. Do you know the answer? Because the point is you're measuring Krishna. It is offensive. It's explained in the pastime of, is it Hiranyaksha? Yeah, trying to grab Lord Varaha, and can't do that. So Prabhupada was saying that the materialist or atheist always trying to measure Krishna, trying to measure God. Because it's a challenge. How big are you? Like that. Come on. Hey, after breakfast, let's have a what do you call arm wrestle? Do you do that here? Arm wrestle? Come on, Prabhu, come on. How strong are you? And why are you challenging like that? Why are you challenging? So Krishna's unlimited, so why even think I'm going to measure? It just brings they want to bring everything down to the mundane. Materialist turns that which is spiritual into mundane. And mundane, they imagine it's spiritual. They got it all backwards. So you can't do that. It's offensive. I'm going to measure Krishna. And also meant take all their clothes off, take pictures, like it's some kind of statue in a museum. That's the point. It's not a statue in a museum. The Murti is Krishna. So all respect. It's a transcendental body of the Lord. You don't treat it like a statue in some museum. So that's why he objected, rightfully so. They wouldn't let him in.
You mentioned only Radha Man and Vrindavan.
Yeah, that's what I said there.
So I heard that the reason why he wasn't moved from Radha was that the temple was built at the fortress, and the Moses couldn't get it. So they just kept it safe.
Well, you've been there, right? Yeah, it's kind of hidden away. You wouldn't know. Yeah, it's not standing out. You don't know what's, and maybe because of his size, they actually did move him, but, big deities are like, better to go. Whereas I don't know the exact story. It probably there is in one of these classes by Indradumna Maharaj, who spent a lot of time in the library there in Vrindavan studying that period in history, all these details about what had happened and so on, and what the deities, amazing classes he's giving, things we have never heard before. But it's all recorded, in those books that are there left by different devotees. Amazing time in history. Like that. So, Radharman Gopal Bhatta Goswami.
Is there any other books that do describe
I'm not sure, because obviously this devotee took some things, but even what we're reading about is described, and there's very little is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. But another point with class is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started his movement, and devotees the Goswamis had to take all of his teachings, write them all down, put them in order, what they call canonize them and so on. So because he just started his movement. And when he left, who's going to know what to do and not to do? So that's why Lord Chaitanya, you write all these books, and he's talked to Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and Gopal Bhatta, there's Hari Bhakti Vilas and the different books he wrote. What does it mean to be a devotee? What are the rules and regulations? And the Shadipa, the book on samskaras, and for householders, Vaishnavas, and because he was from South India, he knew all of these things, all the vidhi and so on. So it's authorized, because the argument is that it's just a sentimental movement started by this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but actually the Goswamis showed that everything that Lord Chaitanya was teaching is all there in all the different Vedic literatures, and they brought in all these quotes and everything. It's fully authorized. The very, very important contribution to the stability and future of Lord Chaitanya's movement is the books by Gopal Bhatta Goswami and the different Goswamis. The authenticity of the movement, just like when in Jaipur, when they brought up that the Vaishnavas have no commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Is that Baladev Vijayabhusana? Is that who? Who wrote it? Yeah, and Govinda Dev personally dictated it to him. Just, okay, here it is. He showed up the next morning with the whole commentary. Okay, you're authorized. For those who are sticklers on these things, okay, you're authorized. Here it is. So in order to add that, so those people who are doubting and want to know and so on, okay, it's authorized. So these books show that our movement is completely authorized and presenting, not just authorized, but presenting the highest truths of Oh, really? Okay. When is class over? On the half hour? You ever have a 5-minute Bhagavatam class? You've done that before, right? In the Christmas marathon or something? Get out there. No. So we end now? Is there anything else? Yeah. Okay. So just see what, Guna Manjari, but even in his manifest pastimes in this world, what a recipient of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy and kindness, and Krishna appearing to him, Radharaman. Disappearance days and appearance days, they're very special because whoever's day it is, they make themselves available to us. So whatever prayers you offer to Gopal Bhatta Das Goswami today, the volume's turned up. So take advantage of it. We should all take advantage of it right after class or whenever to offer prayers and ask for blessings and mercy because the volume's turned up. You can pray to him 365 days a year, but on the appearance and disappearance days of the acharyas, the volume's turned up. They really hear it like that. And they're very, very eager and anxious and willing to give blessings, especially on these days. Their presence is very much felt, and they're okay. Today's a good day to ask for their blessings and help in Krishna consciousness. So. Yes, exactly. They're all there, and they're all just. There are unlimited Vaishnavas just happy to give blessings. That's all Vaishnavas should be happy to give blessings. Have you been blessing anyone recently? I think you were blessing Kartikeya yesterday on Sankirtan, right? So that's the Vaishnavas always willing to give. And blessing means give them Krishna, give them Krishna. It's not something from us, but that's the Vaishnavas. So the great souls, they're just like the sun emanating, unlimited blessings like that. So that's just the nature of the Vaishnava, always wanting to give the mercy. So we should receive it. Our business is to receive the mercy. They're giving automatically, but do we want to receive it? Like that. So, but today, the prayers get answered quite easily. Prayers to the Gopal Bhatta Das Goswami. Okay. Yes, I have that book, but I'm here and that's a few thousand miles away. And I don't have it as, I don't think it's, I don't have the Veda base. It's probably on there. It's probably on the BBT Veda base, but I don't have access to it. Yeah, it's pretty much what we discussed because he's pulling from, there's not a lot. There's not a lot. You know, devotees didn't advertise themselves. So and he specifically asked, don't say anything about me. Don't ever tell anyone I came here. Dharmasetu, I never heard of the guy. Never heard of him. They requested very, very humble. Don't mention me in the book. I'm not a devotee.
One was he told me when you go to another Raman, with 100 rupee donation every time you take darshan, and on the third time you do it, they invite you from Mahavishnu, and that's exactly what happened. One of those homies was sitting with us and his mother cooked with Shannon, and she was serving us, and Mahavishnu got a boat.
How long ago was that? Yeah, it's probably gone up to 500 rupees now. Inflation. What I heard in class that was a long time ago. It's 500 rupees now. That's ecstatic. Very wonderful. Okay, so we can end here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gopala Bhatta Gosvami ki jai. Hare Krishna. Don't mention my name. Erase all of these. Erase them all. I never